From common skin conditions such as acne, eczema or psoriasis through to rarer ones like alopecia or lipoedema, awareness, understanding and treatment starts with science. The Future of Dermatology Spotlight on Skin explores the story showcasing the research, developments and breakthroughs that can improve outcomes physically and psychologically for those living with skin disease. The science behind skin is always evolving, and medical breakthroughs for skin disease can lead to life-changing results for patients. But it can mean years of research to get to that point. The British Skin Foundation is the only UK charity to fund research for all types of skin diseases. One recipient of that research funding is Dr. Christos Georgios, who joins me now. Thank you so much for being here. Tell us about your recent work.
So my main focus has been frontal fibrosing alopecia, which is also known as FFA. FFA is an inflammatory skin condition which causes inflammation, scarring and irreversible hair loss, predominantly in women of the postmenopausal age. It very rarely affects men. There has been a dramatic increase in the incidence and prevalence of the condition since it was first reported in the 1990s, which has led scientists and clinicians to believe that genetic and potentially environmental factors have played a role. During my NIHR-funded PhD work, I undertook a large genetic study involving over 1,000 women with FFA, which concluded that the condition is very largely genetic and provided some clues that there may be environmental element to the pathogenesis of the disorder. The British Skin Foundation allowed me to follow up on some of those exciting findings by taking further research in subsequent years.
Talk to me about the outcomes of your research and how it's going to benefit patients.
So we have really understood the biological pathways that underpin frontal fibrosing alopecia in both men and women, actually. And by doing so, we now know what molecular targets are crucial from a treatment perspective. We have therefore been able to repurpose some of the existing drugs, and we're now looking at ways to proceed with our research into more advanced therapies.
What role does the British Skin Foundation play in the dermatological community?
The British Skin Foundation plays a massively important role, simply because the research into many of those skin conditions is not very high in the agenda of research councils and commercial sponsors. In my case, the British Skin Foundation Young Investigator Award really allowed me to follow up on some of the exciting findings from my PhD work, which then really enabled me to be successful in subsequent substantial grant application, which I currently hold.
What are your hopes then for the future for research in dermatology?
So I really hope that we turn our focus on the neglected dermatological conditions that have not been adequately researched so far. And there are many examples of those. There are many scarring alopecias, non-scarring alopecias, and some other inflammatory skin conditions, for example, lichen planus, lichen sclerosus, for which we do not have any specifically indicated treatments. So I really hope that there will be more research into those.
Just in terms of the British Skin Foundation and the funding, how crucial has that funding been in terms of your research?
In my case, the funding was awarded the most critical point in my career. Just before the COVID pandemic and the lockdowns, I really needed that extra bit of support to follow up on some exciting findings, produce more research outputs, and then apply for a more substantial research grant, which I did. And I wouldn't have been successful in my Medical Research Council application for my current drug without the help from the BSF.
That's fantastic. Dr. Christos Georgios, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Dermatological conditions can have a detrimental impact on people's lives, both on their physical well-being and on their mental health. Our Morale is dedicated to medical dermatology, advancing science and innovating to deliver impactful solutions to help people realise their hopes and dreams for a healthy life.
Miley Rose was born with severe eczema. At 6 days old, her skin was red raw.
Sometimes when my skin's too bad, I don't want to leave the house because I don't like the way that I look. So I And like if I wake up and my skin's bad, I'll just go back to bed because I can't deal with the pain.
If it's like really hot, there'll be kids out with having water fights and she can't really go and join in. Water's something that flares your skin up, even just playing.
Miley Rose has been hospitalised numerous times over the years. She has fans blowing cool air onto her bed to ease the constant itch.
As the years have gone on and you see other children, getting up and she's still in bed and I'm like, oh, but she was up till 5 itching. I feel guilty that she's still in bed, but then I feel guilty waking her up because she's exhausted. So it's trying to balance everything so that she's not missing out. It's a massive responsibility for a parent.
The lack of sleep, the medication, the consultations made school a struggle. Miley Rose felt continual stress living with a skin condition. It eventually led to Samantha giving up her job to teach Miley Rose at home.
It's been hard leaving work because I loved work. It can be quite isolating, can't it, at times, for both of us, really.
Dr. Christiana Kandola has been a dermatologist for more than a decade. She's seen the impact on families.
With regards to children, the main thing is you're not just treating the child, you're treating the whole family. Because often when a child's skin disease is really bad, the whole family is affected. It's not the child who's waking up at night alone. They often run to a parent or both parents. And they're now waking up and then trying to soothe the skin, soothe the child, get them back to sleep. If the child is going to miss a day of school, a parent has to stay at home with them. So it really ricochets across because it affects the parent's economic movement as well as how well that child is going to go to school and learn, because if they're asleep all day in school, nothing will go in.
According to the World Health Organization, around 1.8 billion people are affected by skin conditions at any given time. They include acne, eczema and psoriasis. Here in Barcelona is the headquarters for the family-owned pharmaceutical company Almirall. It works with academic institutions and patient groups around the world to improve medical dermatology.
I think the future is incredibly bright. With the advance of artificial intelligence, we can characterize diseases better. We understand the genetic and the molecular basis of diseases better. And we are able to develop more and more targeted therapies. And look, in dermatology, there are around 600 rare diseases. Most of them don't have an appropriate treatment today, so there's a lot of work to do.
Most people at some point in their lives have suffered some type of outbreak on their skin. But for those with chronic skin conditions, every aspect of their life, every single day, can be incredibly difficult.
We know that mental health is a big thing in skin disease. They say people with eczema and psoriasis have similar amounts of depression as someone with cancer. We have to treat it accordingly. So we do need to pay attention to their mental health.
Miley Rose keeps positive with the help of her friends and her dogs, Nancy and Jake. Now she's been homeschooled, her eczema is more under control. Education is important. Many people with chronic skin conditions struggle in school and jobs.
They don't end up taking certain jobs which are not their intelligence level because they couldn't make it through school. They will now be able to go higher, aim higher, and actually have their dreams. If they want to be an astronaut, for instance, maybe they could be.
I love science because I just think that it's cool because if I in the future become a scientist, then I can make a cream to help other people.
Lipoedema is a condition that causes painful fat buildup in the legs, hips and arms and affects millions of women worldwide. Lipoedema UK is helping to educate the public and healthcare professionals about the disease, as well as advocating for improved diagnosis and access to better treatments. We met Guido Kula, a consultant plastic surgeon, and Sandra Slaughter, a patient with lipoedema.
Dr. Köhler, Sandra, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today. Dr. Köhler, if I can start with you, tell us a bit about lipoedema, what it is and who it affects.
Lipoedema is a condition that affects the subcutaneous tissue, the fat. So it usually only affects your legs, your thighs, your knees, your ankle, your buttocks and your hips, as well as your upper arms. It mainly affects women. It has a genetic and a hormonal situation underlying, which we're trying to find out more about it.
And Sandra, you've been living with lipedema for 50 years. You have 2 daughters who also have the condition. How has that been for you and for them?
Hard, very hard. For myself, having it undiagnosed for the majority of my life, it first presenting around the age of 8 or 9, visibly noticeable that my legs were different to other girls in our PE classes at school. It has led to a life that has influenced my choice of clothes, my relationships, sport, and really affected my self-esteem and confidence.
And your girls as well, it's been similar for them, hasn't it?
It was, the diagnosis came very late for me, and this is one of the aspects that we've shared, because for me, I had a lot of limiting beliefs and a lot of self-judgment and discomfort. For my daughters having the diagnosis, suddenly they were free from blame. Every medical professional that we've ever connected with in my life, I was always asking, why are my legs like this? I was consistently told I was an overeater. They then didn't have that blame.
I know you've had 4 operations, which must have been very traumatic for you, and clearly it is for the patients that you see, Dr. Köhler. What sort of specialist procedure is available for this condition?
Well, the best thing at the moment is liposuction. It doesn't cure the condition, but it does help a lot with the symptoms. And also, the earlier you get into it, the better it is later on in your life, because you don't have all these secondary effects from low self-esteem, from pain, that you lose some mobility, etc.
I was about to say, how important is early diagnosis and what sort of a difference can that make?
Yes, so as we see in your story too, that children, when they are diagnosed early, they don't live in that horrible shame that they are just eating too much and that this is all a problem of their diet, even though they can't impact it, and that they then psychologically go into a really bad place. If we treat it early, they are free from that and can develop a normal self-esteem and a normal future for them.
Yes, so Sandra, tell us about your treatment journey and how that's impacted you and your family.
We were diagnosed, myself and my daughters, together, and it was advised for me at the age I was at that surgery was essential, if I could afford it, to increase my mobility, reduce my pain. I'd already was presenting with knee problems, hip problems, my gait out of balance. So that has freed me from that. And I do have increased mobility, and I'm able to participate in sport and have a freedom of choice.
So how important now, Dr. Köhler, is research, bearing in mind what we've heard from Sandra in terms of how it's impacted her lives and that of her girls?
The research is important, that we do more and more, and the awareness that people actually will be able to diagnose lipedema and then treat it accordingly. But if we put more focus into it, realizing how many women are affected by lipedema, that would be awesome.
Okay. Sandra, Dr. Köhler, thanks so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Acne is one of the most common skin conditions, yet it is notoriously difficult to cure and can leave behind scars, both physical and mental, if untreated. However, new studies show that dermocosmetic skincare specifically formulated for those prone to acne, like the La Roche-Posay Effaclar range, plays an important role in keeping skin in a good condition and help improve patient compliance alongside medical treatments. I'm joined by consultant dermatologist Dr. Anjali Marto and her former patient, Alice Living. Thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Marto, let's start with you. There is a real link between acne and a psychological impact, both the active acne and scars, if left untreated.
That's absolutely right. I think we hugely underestimate that your acne patient will have problems with confidence, self-esteem, and actually their own mental wellness that goes along with that. So about 50% of patients who suffer with acne will socially isolate themselves. And then for those patients that actually eventually get to us, about 40% of those don't actually complete their acne treatments because of side effects of medication.
Dr. Marto, skincare has come such a long way and there is so much choice. It can be hard to navigate. What would you say is key for someone with acne? And what do we mean by dermocosmetic?
So when we think about dermocosmetics, what we're actually talking about is skincare products. But these products are clinically tested and they've got dermatologically active ingredients in them. So what a lot of these products can do is they can be built into an acne treatment plan or an acne routine.
La Roche-Posay is the UK's #1 dermatologist recommended brand and has an expert range to target these skincare needs identified in a recent paper on the use of dermocosmetics in acne management. Dr. Marto, can you share more about why you include a skincare recommendation for your patients?
It's really important to give skincare advice alongside our medical treatment plans. The reason for that is a lot of the skincare is supplementary to the things that we would prescribe or do in clinic. So we often use creams or we use tablets such as isotretinoin, which can be quite drying and irritating to the skin. So to have a good skincare routine that can hydrate, comfort, support the barrier function of the skin with the right ingredients is very important for people to get to their end of their treatment plan so they're not suffering with these sorts of side effects. And then once you've got that acne treated, you then have to make sure that people's skincare routine continues. So you're reducing oiliness, you're reducing pore clogging, which in itself may lead to acne recurrence further down the line.
Alice, you saw professional help from Dr. Marto, didn't you? Can you tell us how you felt back then?
So when I had acne, I definitely felt really self-conscious and I felt like I was doing everything right. I mean, I think we all know that when we're having a skin day where we feel like our skin isn't kind of clear, it can impact your confidence. I know that I had quite a public-facing job from the age of sort of 22, and I spent a lot of my time almost hiding myself away. So I did seek out the advice from Anjali Marto. And so what I also got from Dr. Anjali was really an advice in terms of the skincare to use alongside that treatment. So I found the Effaclar H range to be really brilliant at sort of mitigating some of the dryness and the sensitivity that I felt so that I could continue, enjoying the results of the treatment and feeling as though I felt super confident in my skin and at my best.
And then when you went to see Dr. Marto, in terms of the conversation between you two, were you able to identify straight away what Alice needed?
So it was very clear that for Alice, she had tried a lot of other things. So the option that we chose, isotretinoin, was the sensible one. But again, a significant number of people that take this medication do have side effects and they do not complete their course as a result of side effects. So it is really important that we actually then get that skincare treatment plan in to support the skin as much as possible to make sure that people stick to that plan, they get to their end, the skin clears, and then you can send them on their way with maintenance.
Yeah, exactly.
Alice, you are now post-acne. How does having clear skin make a difference to how you feel?
So I'm 2 years on from treatment and I have continued to see the benefits of having clear skin. It has made me feel so much more confident and happy in myself. I've continued using the Effaclar range as well, which has really helped me to kind of maintain those benefits. I use Effaclar H in the evenings for that kind of real nourishing feeling, but I also use Effaclar Duo Plus M's in the morning, which helps with kind of that safety blanket feeling of continuing the results of clear skin for me.
And for you, Anjali, having a product that you can kind of recommend and that works, it's great as a dermatologist to be able to do that.
It is. For me, it's about giving patients reliable, consistent results. So that will come with my medical management, but putting the skincare alongside that. And I think we should all be doing that.
Dr. Anjali Marto and Alice Living, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Skin diseases such as psoriasis affect around 1 in 50 people in the UK. UCB Pharma is using advancements in science to find new ways to reduce the inflammatory response in patients, leading to a better quality of life for those suffering with the disease.
Rowena has beautiful, clear skin, something she never thought she'd have. Throughout her 20s and 30s, her life was dominated by the painful skin condition psoriasis. Every day she battled itchy, sore, flaky patches of skin, hiding her body away under long clothes.
Wouldn't get dressed in front of my husband, didn't want him to see when it was on my thighs, when it was bad. He always said, it doesn't matter to me, but it mattered to me that he was seeing it and just felt ugly.
Although there is no cure for psoriasis, it can be managed with the right treatment and advice. Over 20 years, Rowena tried numerous medications.
Some of the treatments worked a little bit. They'd stop the flakiness, but I'd still have the red marks in the areas. Some would make me feel really sick. I was told I couldn't go in the sun, to wear sort of factor 50 sun cream, and some doctors said cover up completely. So that would affect, summer holidays with my son.
Psoriasis affects 2 in 100 people in the UK. The advances in science have transformed the success of treatments, making the prognosis much more hopeful.
When I first started training 10-15 years ago, patients would come in, they would often be angry, disappointed, upset, not living the life that they wanted to. And that was partly because we weren't able to clear their skin, and really we were aiming for an improvement of around 50% for many patients. Whereas the advances in therapeutics and treatments that are available now means that we're aiming for 90 to 100% clearance of their skin.
These scientists are helping to develop the latest treatments for skin conditions. UCB is a pharmaceutical company that is leveraging scientific advances in new technologies in areas including genetics, biomarkers, and human biology.
I think we've now really entered a golden age of drug discovery and treatment options for patients. And with our deeper understanding of how disease processes work and the technologies available to us, as well as the increasing amount of data we have, I think it's really likely that the field in general can really start talking about cure for inflammatory skin diseases in the future.
For me as a clinician, when a patient now walks through the door and they've been started on one of these treatments, it's like seeing a new person. They're happy, their whole life has changed, they're able to form relationships, do well at work, sleep well, all the things that we take for granted, and with really minimal inconvenience to their everyday lives.
When we work in the lab, we're so focused sometimes on gene expression levels and protein expression. It's easy to forget how this translates to clear, healthy skin, which is what the patient wants. And so meeting the patient and understanding their needs really brings it full circle back to lab. It makes us incredibly determined, and there's so much trial and error, there's so much resilience required working in the lab that determination is really important.
But there are obstacles to getting the right treatment at the right time. Psoriasis patients can wait between 18 and 24 months to see an NHS dermatologist.
Dermatology services are under huge pressure because of increasing numbers of referrals, particularly for suspected skin cancers, and those patients are prioritised above our routine patients.
Rowena was finally prescribed a biologic treatment that worked. Psoriasis no longer dominates her life. Holidays in Wales and wellies have been replaced by shorts in Spain, and her husband has seen a big change.
I went and had like a nice photo shoot, I should say, a grown-up photo shoot as a Christmas present for him, because I just felt we've got no nice pictures of me. I never felt so comfortable and pretty and sexy. I've got so many years of long clothes.
And now look at you with your own photo shoot.
That's it, my own photo shoot, and he was chuffed with them.
I bet you he was.
Thank you for watching The Future of Dermatology Spotlight on Skin. We hope you enjoyed this programme. From me and the team at ITN Business, goodbye.